James sat across from his best friend Marcus at their usual bar, complaining about being broke again. Marcus interrupted him mid-sentence with a challenge. "I bet you $500 you can't save $5,000 in 3 months. James laughed. "Man, I've never saved $500 in my life, let alone 5,000. I make $2,400 a month driving for DoorDash. After rent and bills, there's nothing left." Marcus leaned forward. "That's exactly why you can't do it. You've convinced yourself it's impossible, so you never even try. Prove me wrong. 3 months, $5,000 saved. I'll give you $500 if you do it." The bet was $500, but James realized it wasn't about the money. It was about proving Marcus wrong. More than that, it was about proving himself wrong about his own limitations. That night, James opened his banking app. Balance, $237. Savings account, 0. Credit card debt, $3,800. He'd been living this way for 6 years, perpetually broke, perpetually behind. He grabbed a notebook and wrote at the top, $5,000 in 90 days. Day 1, $237. Day 90, $5,237. Net gain needed, $5,000. The math seemed impossible. That was $55.56 per day, every single day, for 90 days straight. He made about $80 per day driving. He'd have to save nearly 70% of his income, but James had made the bet publicly. Marcus had witnesses. Backing down wasn't an option. For the first time in his adult life, James was about to discover what he was actually capable of when failure wasn't an option. James's life before the bet was comfortable in its predictability. 29 years old, unmarried, no kids, delivering food for DoorDash 40 to 50 hours per week. The income varied but averaged around $2,400 monthly. His rent for a studio apartment was $900. Utilities about $120. Car payment $270. Insurance $140. Phone $75. That was $1,505 in fixed expenses, leaving roughly $895 for everything else. Gas for work, food, entertainment, everything. There was never anything left to save. Every month ended at 0 or slightly negative, covered by the credit card that had slowly accumulated $3,800 in debt over the years. James had accepted this as normal. Everyone he knew lived paycheck to paycheck. His parents had lived that way. His friends lived that way. It was just how life worked when you weren't rich. The bet with Marcus disrupted that comfortable narrative. Marcus was his best friend since high school. Same background, same opportunities, same starting point. But Marcus had somehow figured out how to save money, invest, build wealth. He tried to explain it to James before, but James had always dismissed it as, "You just make more money than me," or "I have more expenses." The truth James wouldn't admit, he'd never actually tried. He'd never tracked his spending. He'd never created a budget. He'd never said no to anything he wanted. DoorDash money came in, expenses went out, nothing remained. Repeat monthly. The bet changed the equation because it wasn't about whether saving was possible. It was about whether James would be humiliated in front of his friends or prove Marcus wrong. Pride was a powerful motivator. That first night, James did something he'd never done. He tracked where every dollar of his last month's income had gone. The results were shocking. The spending audit revealed brutal truths. James had spent $370 on food delivery and restaurants in 1 month. Ironically, he delivered food all day, then paid others to deliver food to him. $145 on subscription services he barely used. Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, a gym membership he'd visited twice, a gaming subscription. $85 on coffee shops and energy drinks. $60 on impulse purchases from Amazon. $120 on bars and going out with friends. Another $80 on vaping supplies. That was $860 in 1 month on completely discretionary spending. Money that vanished with nothing to show for it except temporary pleasure. If he eliminated all of it, he could save $860 per month, which over 3 months was $2,580. Still $2,420 short of the $5,000 goal. James would need to not only cut all discretionary spending but also significantly increase his income. The challenge seemed even more impossible after the audit. But James had made the bet, and backing down would be worse than trying and failing. He created a battle plan for day one, cut every single subscription except phone and internet, savings of $125 monthly, stop all delivery food and restaurants, cook every single meal at home using the cheapest ingredients possible. Budget, $150 monthly for food, savings of $220 monthly. Stop all coffee shops and energy drinks, drink water and make coffee at home. Savings, $85 monthly. Stop all bars and going out, free entertainment only. Savings, $120 monthly. Stop all impulse purchases, buy nothing except absolute necessities. Savings, $60 monthly. Quit vaping cold turkey. Savings, $80 monthly plus health benefits. Total monthly savings from cuts, $690. Times 3 months, $2,070. He was still $2,930 short. The only way to close that gap, increase income dramatically. James calculated he'd need to earn an additional $977 per month beyond his normal DoorDash income, roughly $33 per day extra. He'd have to work significantly more hours, find additional income sources, or both. Day one began at 4:30 a.m. James canceled every subscription before he could talk himself out of it. Netflix gone, Hulu gone, Spotify gone, gym membership gone, gaming subscription gone. He felt the loss immediately. These had been his escapes, his entertainment, his comfort. Now they were obstacles to the $5,000 goal. He threw away his vape pen and cartridges, $60 worth that he'd just bought. Waste, but keeping them meant temptation. He cleared his refrigerator of delivery leftovers and went to the discount grocery store. He bought rice, beans, pasta, eggs, chicken breast, frozen vegetables, oatmeal, peanut butter, bread, the cheapest calories he could find. Total, $43 for what should last 2 weeks. He started his DoorDash shift at 7 a.m. instead of his usual 10 a.m., adding 3 extra hours per day. He skipped his normal coffee shop stop and drank terrible instant coffee he'd bought at the dollar store. He worked until 8 p.m. 13-hour shift instead of his usual 8 to 9 hours. He made $127 that day from DoorDash. After gas expenses of $18, his net was $109. His usual daily net was around $80. He'd increased income by $29 through longer hours. Combined with probably $15 saved from not buying coffee, lunch out, or vaping, he'd successfully banked $44 toward the goal on day one. Day one balance, $237 starting plus $44 saved equals $281 total. Only $4,719 to go. 89 days remaining. James collapsed into bed at 10 p.m., exhausted. His body ached from 13 hours of driving. His stomach felt empty from eating just rice, eggs, and beans all day. His mind craved the dopamine hits from entertainment he'd eliminated. But he'd survived day one and moved forward. Day two was harder. The novelty had worn off, replaced by the grinding reality of what 3 months of this would feel like. James woke up sore, tired, unmotivated. His apartment felt oppressively boring without streaming services. But he'd told Marcus and everyone else he'd do this. He started the coffee pot, ate oatmeal with peanut butter, and started driving at 6:45 a.m. Week one was brutal. James worked 13 to 14-hour days, 7 days straight. No days off. No breaks except to eat rice and beans in his car between deliveries. He averaged $115 net daily from DoorDash. Combined with roughly $25 daily in eliminated spending, he was banking about $40 per day. After 7 days, $280 saved. Total balance, $517. He was on track, but barely. The physical toll was immediate. His back hurt constantly from sitting in the car. His eyes burned from staring at navigation apps. His hands cramped from gripping the steering wheel. His social life vanished completely. He declined every invitation with, "I can't, I'm working." His friends started joking about the bet. James is really doing it, turned into James has lost his mind. By week 2, something shifted. The extreme discipline started revealing insights James had never considered. he realized how much money he'd been wasting on convenience and comfort. That $5 coffee wasn't giving him energy, it was costing him 30 minutes of work. That $20 takeout meal wasn't saving him time, it was costing him nearly 3 hours of delivery driving. Every purchase had a time cost, not just a money cost. When he saw spending as converted life hours, his perspective changed completely. James also discovered he could increase income beyond longer hours. He started optimizing his DoorDash strategy, working during peak hours only when the pay was highest, declining low-paying orders, positioning himself strategically near high-volume restaurants. His dollars per hour increased from roughly $8.50 to $12 by being selective. He also signed up for additional delivery apps, Uber Eats and Grubhub, and started multi-apping, taking orders from whichever app paid best at any moment. His daily earnings increased from $115 to $145 without working additional hours. By end of week 3, James had saved $975. Total balance, $1,212. He was ahead of pace. The goal of $5,000 in 90 days required $55.56 daily average. James was averaging $46.33 daily. Still short, but improving. Week 4 brought the first real crisis. James's car broke down, the alternator died, and the repair estimate was $475. This was the kind of emergency that would normally go on the credit card and get ignored. But James had made a commitment, save $5,000. Nothing could derail that. He couldn't afford to lose $475 from his savings. He also couldn't afford to not work. His car was his income. James made a desperate decision. He asked Marcus for a loan, $475, to be repaid in 30 days from the $500 bet winnings if he succeeded. Marcus agreed but said, "If you fail the challenge, you still owe me the $475 plus the $500 for losing the bet. That's $975 you'd owe me." The stakes had just increased dramatically. James paid for the repair using Marcus's loan and was back working within 24 hours. But the incident taught him something crucial. Emergencies will always happen. If he couldn't handle a $475 car repair without derailing his goal, he'd never achieve real financial stability. The challenge wasn't just about saving $5,000. It was about building the capacity to weather setbacks without collapsing. James decided to get even more aggressive. He picked up a second income stream, selling plasma twice per week. Each donation paid $40, so $80 weekly or $320 monthly extra. He also started doing odd jobs on Craigslist during the few hours he wasn't delivering food, moving furniture, yard work, assembling IKEA furniture, anything that paid cash immediately. These gigs added another $150 weekly or $600 monthly. Combined with his optimized DoorDash earnings and extreme frugality, James's daily savings jumped from $46.33 to $72.14. He was now ahead of the $55.56 daily target. By end of month 1, James had saved $1,947. He'd gone from $237 to $2,184 total balance in 30 days. He was nearly 40% to his goal with 60 days remaining. But he was also exhausted in ways he'd never experienced. He'd lost 11 pounds. His sleep averaged 4 to 5 hours nightly. He had no social interaction except delivery customers and odd-job clients. His apartment was just a place to sleep between work sessions. The challenge was working, but it was consuming him. Month 2 began with James in a strange psychological space. He'd proven the goal was achievable. He was on pace to hit $5,000 with room to spare. But the cost was becoming clear. He had no life outside the challenge. Everything was sacrifice. Every waking moment was about earning or saving. He'd become a machine optimized for one single purpose. His friends had stopped inviting him anywhere. His dating life was non-existent. He hadn't watched a movie, played a game, or done anything purely for enjoyment in 30 days. Marcus checked in. "You doing okay? You look terrible." James laughed bitterly. "I'm saving $72 a day. I'm going to win this bet. But yeah, I feel terrible." Marcus surprised him. "You've already won, man. You've proven you can do it." You could stop now and you'd still have proven me wrong about your capabilities. But James couldn't stop. It wasn't about the bet anymore. Somewhere in the brutal grind of the first month, the challenge had changed. It had become about finding out what he was truly capable of. For 29 years, James had accepted his limitations as facts. I'm not good with money. I can't save. I'm just a delivery driver. The past 30 days had shattered those beliefs completely. He wasn't bad with money. He just never tried to be good with it. He could save. He'd saved almost $2,000 in 30 days. He wasn't just a delivery driver. He was someone who could optimize multiple income streams, work 100-hour weeks, and accomplish goals that seemed impossible. The challenge was revealing capabilities he'd never accessed because he'd never needed to. Comfortable people don't discover their limits. Desperate people do. James was no longer comfortable, and in that discomfort, he was discovering a version of himself he'd never met before. But the physical and mental strain was real. By week 6, James was functioning on autopilot. Wake up, instant coffee, deliver food for 10 hours, plasma donation or odd jobs for 3 hours, eat rice and beans, sleep 4 hours, repeat. He wasn't living, he was surviving toward a goal. His body was breaking down. His mental clarity was declining. He knew this pace couldn't continue forever, but 60 days felt doable. He could endure anything for 60 more days. Week 7 brought an unexpected lesson. James was delivering to an upscale neighborhood when a customer, an older businessman, struck up a conversation. Seeing James's exhaustion, he asked what was driving him so hard. James explained the $5,000 challenge. The man listened thoughtfully, then said something that changed James's perspective. You're learning the hard way what took me years to understand. Wealth isn't about income. It's about the gap between what you earn and what you spend. You're creating a massive gap through extreme discipline. That's the formula. But there's a smarter way than killing yourself. He explained that James was trading time for money linearly. More hours equals more money. But that model has a ceiling. Once you hit your 5,000, what will you do? Go back to your old habits? Or will you use this momentum to build something that earns money without consuming every hour of your life? James had never considered this. He'd been so focused on the 90-day challenge that he hadn't thought about day 91. The businessman continued, You've proven you can generate $70+ daily beyond your normal expenses. That's incredible discipline. But imagine if you could maintain the discipline while working normal hours. The key isn't working more forever. It's permanently raising your income while keeping your expenses low. The conversation planted a seed. James started researching passive income, investing, building assets that generated money without constant effort. He was too deep in the challenge to change course now, but he began planning for after the 90 days. By end of week 8, James had saved $3,512. Total balance, $3,749. He needed $1,251 more in 30 days. It was virtually guaranteed now. He was banking over $70 daily, which meant he'd exceed $5,000 by about $400. The challenge was won. But James realized the real victory wasn't hitting the number. It was discovering he'd been capable of this all along and simply never tried. 29 years of mediocrity because he'd never pushed himself. 29 years of being broke because he'd accepted it as inevitable. The challenge had destroyed that acceptance and replaced it with proof of capability. The final 30 days had a different energy. James knew he'd win the bet, the math was certain. But he'd shifted from complete the challenge to maximize the result. He wanted to see how high above $5,000 he could get. How much was truly possible in 90 days. He doubled down on odd jobs, taking everything available on Craigslist. He added Instacart shopping to his delivery portfolio. He even picked up 2 overnight warehouse shifts per week at $15 per hour. Brutal work after full days of delivery driving, but an extra $240 weekly. His income had become absurd. DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub optimized delivery. $1,800 monthly. Plasma donations, $320 monthly. Odd jobs and gigs, $700 monthly. Instacart, $400 monthly. Overnight warehouse shifts, $960 monthly. Total monthly income, $4,180, nearly double his original $2,400. Combined with expenses slashed to absolute minimums around $800 monthly, he was saving $3,380 monthly. In the final 30 days, James saved $3,291. On day 90, James checked his balance, $6,528. Starting balance, $237. Amount saved in 90 days, $6,291. He'd exceeded the $5,000 goal by $1,291. He'd proven it was possible to save over $2,000 monthly while making $2,400 to $4,100 monthly. The variables were discipline and willingness to sacrifice comfort temporarily. James took a screenshot of the balance and sent it to Marcus with one word, "Done." Marcus called immediately, "You absolute maniac. You didn't just hit 5,000, you hit 6,500. I honestly didn't think you could do it." The $500 bet payment came through. James immediately paid back the $475 car repair loan. Net, $25 from the bet itself, but $6,528 total in his account. The bet had been the catalyst, but the result was far more than winning a bar challenge. James had completely transformed his relationship with money, work, and his own capabilities in 90 days. The day after completing the challenge, James did something strange. He took a day off, his first full day without work in 90 days. He slept until noon. He ordered takeout, the first restaurant food in 3 months. He watched Netflix shows he'd missed. He did absolutely nothing productive, and it felt wrong. The 90 days had reprogrammed him. Doing nothing felt wasteful. Spending $22 on takeout felt painful, even though he had over $6,000 saved. He'd developed a scarcity mindset so intense that abundance felt uncomfortable. This was the unexpected cost of extreme discipline. He'd optimized himself into a machine that couldn't relax. Marcus came over that evening. They talked about the challenge, and James admitted, "I don't know how to go back to normal. I don't even know what normal means anymore. I can't go back to working 8-hour days when I know I can work 16-hour days. I can't go back to spending thoughtlessly when I know I can save $70+ daily." Marcus understood, "You're not supposed to go back. You're supposed to find a sustainable middle ground. You've proven you can operate at level 10 intensity. Now you need to find level 7 that you can maintain forever." That conversation led to James creating a post-challenge plan. He couldn't maintain the 90-day intensity forever, that was clear, but he could maintain modified discipline permanently. His new sustainable approach, work 50 to 60 hours weekly instead of 90 to 100, still more than his pre-challenge 40 to 50 but not completely unsustainable. Maintain the eliminated subscriptions and low-cost lifestyle. He'd realized he didn't actually miss most of what he'd cut. Keep doing plasma donations and selective odd jobs, an extra $500 monthly without massive time cost. Goal, save $1,500 to $2,000 monthly sustainably. That was less than the extreme $3,000+ he'd done during the challenge, but dramatically more than the zero he'd saved previously. Within 6 months at $1,500 to $2,000 monthly, he'd have another $9,000 to $12,000 saved. That would give him $15,000 to $18,000 total. For the first time in his life, James was thinking about building wealth, not just surviving paycheck to paycheck. The challenge had been 90 days, but the transformation was permanent. 3 months after completing the challenge, 6 months total from the original bet, James had maintained his modified discipline perfectly. He'd saved an additional $9,300, bringing his total savings to $15,828. He'd paid off his $3,800 credit card debt, completely using part of his challenge savings. His net worth had gone from negative $3,563 to positive $12,028 in 6 months, a $15,591 swing. But numbers told only part of the story. James's entire life had changed. He'd upgraded to a better apartment for $1,150 monthly, $250 more than his previous place, but in a safe neighborhood with a workspace he could use for side projects. He'd started investing $250 monthly in index funds through Robinhood, learning about compound interest and long-term wealth building. He'd enrolled in a free online business course, studying how to build income sources beyond trading time for money. The delivery driver job was no longer his identity. It was just one income source among several, a means to an end while he built something bigger. Most significantly, James's confidence had transformed. The man who'd laughed at the idea of saving $5,000 in 3 months had proven he could save over $6,000 in 90 days. The person who'd accepted being perpetually broke had built nearly $16,000 in savings in 6 months. Every limiting belief about his capabilities had been destroyed through action. James had also started helping others. He wrote a detailed post in a delivery driver Facebook group explaining exactly what he'd done. The challenge, the discipline, the multiple income streams, the extreme frugality, the results. The post got 437 comments and 68 shares. Drivers from around the country started reaching out. "I'm trying your method. I saved my first $1,000 ever using your approach. You showed me this was possible." James realized his 90-day challenge had been about more than winning a bet or saving money. It had been about proving that ordinary people, delivery drivers, service workers, anyone, could achieve extraordinary results through extreme discipline applied consistently. The challenge wasn't about being special. It was about being willing to be uncomfortable long enough to transform. 1 year after the original bet, James sat down with Marcus for their annual tradition. Same bar, same table where the challenge had started. But everything else was different. James ordered water instead of beer. He'd maintained his frugal habits. Marcus ordered them both burgers, his treat to celebrate the anniversary. "So," Marcus said, "what did you learn?" James thought carefully. "I learned that I'd been lying to myself for 29 years. Every time I said, 'I can't save money,' or 'I'm just a delivery driver,' or 'I don't have what it takes,' those were all lies protecting me from having to try. The challenge destroyed those lies by forcing me to try." "What was the hardest part?" Marcus asked. "Maintaining it after the 90 days. The challenge had a finish line, so I could endure anything temporary. But building sustainable discipline without a deadline, that's been harder and more important." James had indeed struggled with post-challenge sustainability. Months 7 through 12 had been about finding balance between extreme discipline and normal life. He'd learned to maintain frugality without deprivation, to work hard without burnout, to save aggressively without eliminating all enjoyment. His current numbers reflected that balance. Monthly income through multiple sources, $3,200 average. Monthly expenses optimized but sustainable, $1,500. Monthly savings, $1,700. Annual savings rate, $20,400. In year 1 after the bet, James had saved a total of $29,700, including the challenge savings and post-challenge sustained savings. His net worth was now positive $25,900 after paying off all debt. He'd gone from negative $3,563 to positive $25,900 in 12 months. The $5,000 challenge had been the catalyst that revealed capability. The sustained discipline over 12 months had been the transformation that built wealth. Marcus raised his water glass. "To the man who proved me wrong and proved himself right." James raised his glass but corrected him. "To the man who gave me a challenge I couldn't refuse, forcing me to discover I'd been capable all along." They drank to both truths. The bet had been $500, but the real value was measured in shattered limitations, discovered capabilities, and a completely transformed life built from 90 days of refusing to accept, "I can't." On the true 1-year anniversary of day 1 of the challenge, James did something symbolic. He wrote a letter to his past self, the version who'd sat in that bar laughing at the impossibility of saving $5,000 in 90 days. "You're about to make a bet you don't think you can win. You're wrong about that, but you're right to take it. The next 90 days will be the hardest of your life. You'll work 100-hour weeks. You'll eat nothing but rice and beans. You'll eliminate everything comfortable and familiar. You'll question why you're doing this every single day. You'll want to quit approximately 700 times. Don't. Because what you're about to discover is worth every miserable moment. You're not trapped. You never were. You've been capable of extraordinary things your entire life, but you've never accessed that capability because you've never had a reason strong enough to try. This challenge will give you that reason. You're going to save $6,291 in 90 days. You're going to maintain discipline for 12 months. You're going to build almost $30,000 in savings and transform your net worth by nearly $30,000 in 1 year. You're going to go from negative broke to positive wealthy in 12 months through nothing but extreme discipline and refusing to accept limitations. But more valuable than the money, you're going to meet a version of yourself you didn't know existed. The version who works 100-hour weeks when necessary. The version who says no to comfort in service of goals. The version who optimizes every dollar and every hour. The version who discovers that "I can't" was always just "I won't." That version has been inside you the entire time, waiting for a challenge extreme enough to require him. You're about to meet him, and once you do, you'll never be able to go back to accepting mediocrity, because you'll have proof that you're capable of excellence. So take the bet. Work the 90 days. Endure the discomfort. Build the discipline. Your life on the other side will be unrecognizable, and that's exactly the point. James folded the letter and put it in a frame next to the screenshot of his $6,528 balance from day 90. Below both, he mounted a small plaque with an inscription, 3 months, $5,000. The challenge that revealed everything. He hung it in his home office where he now spent evenings building an online business teaching others about aggressive savings and income optimization. The delivery driver who'd accepted being broke had become an entrepreneur teaching financial transformation. The man who'd laughed at an impossible bet had become living proof that the impossible is just the untried. And it all started with a friend who believed in him enough to challenge him, and 90 days of refusing to quit when quitting would have been easier. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is someone betting against you, if it motivates you to prove them wrong by proving yourself right.